This is Back to Back.
Yo, what's up, Back to Backers? This is Willie Joy. Welcome to the show. This is Back to Back. This is my podcast. How are you guys? I'm happy to have you here. Did you have a good week? You have a good weekend? You do anything fun? I'm really excited. We've got a really special episode for you this week. Krewella is my guest. I love these girls. They put out a new record called New World Part 1 that's really an evolution of their sound. It's poppy. It's different tempos, different world music influences, really cool shit. I really like listening to it. And they're about to drop New World Part 2 shortly before they go on their New World Tour, which is this fall. It's starting late September, and it goes all the way through November. It's a big tour. And you can get all the dates, tickets, all of that on Krewella.com. And if you haven't seen these guys live, you got to go see them. High recommendation from me. I had a lot of fun this weekend. You can probably hear my voice is a little hoarse, a little fucked up right now. My friend Crisley stayed over at my place on Saturday night. Sunday, we woke up and drove up to Hard Summer Fest together. And man, what a festival. That was so much fun. I haven't just gone to a fest. Neither one of us was playing. I haven't just gone to a festival in a long time just to be a fan and just to chill and see music and see friends. Saw Migos, who are amazing. Dog Blood, Snoop Dogg, so many friends. Brills and Kill the Noise, Party Favor. And, of course, Destructo. And what an amazing legacy he's built over the last 10 years with Hardfest and Holy Ship and all of those events. In case you didn't see it over this last week, Destructo announced that he's no longer going to be involved with hard events or Holy Ship. Basically, Live Nation owns a majority stake in the company and did not renew his contract. And I'm sure there's a lot more politically going on behind the scenes there. But the point being that, Gary built this empire over 10 years, and it was so crucial to the dance music scene, to the electronic scene, and just to the music scene in general. It was always such a forward-thinking festival, always just ahead of the curve. I just have so much respect for what he was able to build over those last 10 years. Again, I want to thank him for having me out, this being the 10-year anniversary and his departure. He was a busy guy, so I appreciate him taking the time out. He had an amazing set, filled the stage with people by the end of it. I'm not just speaking for myself when I say that the DJ community owes him a debt, and I think we're all just excited to see what he does next because I know it's going to be dope. And while I was out at Hard Summer, so many friends, artists, even people I hadn't met were coming up to me talking about this show. It really blew me away. I was humbled. A lot of new shit coming up for you guys. So thank you so much for being here and listening. And, a friend said to me yesterday at the festival that it basically feels like we get to hang out all the time now because he listens to this show. And so even when we don't see each other, we're still connecting and, still feel like we know what's going on with each other's lives. And that means a lot, and I hope I can do that for you guys as well, everybody out there listening. I do want to hear from you. You can email me at backtobackpod@gmail.com or tweet me, Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat. All of that is just Willie Joy. Hit me up. That being said, let's get into today's episode with Krewella. They've had a really interesting history, and it was so cool to talk to them about how they got started, how, our paths were sort of parallel without us actually hanging out at the time in Chicago. I think probably a lot of people listening know that Krewella, from the start, was a trio. Rain Man was part of the group for many, many years, the formative years. And then they had a few years back kind of an ugly split, an ugly breakup. Rain Man left the group. And, if you're not familiar with that part of their history, you can just Google it. You can look it up. There's a million things online. I'm not really trying to focus on the drama aspects of it. But it was, it was a big deal for the group, and it was in the public eye, and it's worth mentioning. A lot went on around there. TMZ picked it up. It became gossip fodder for a minute. So they had this very public breakup. and all of the reporting around it kind of rubbed me the wrong way a little bit. Sort of exposed a lot of the sexist tendencies I think are in the music industry. It's a problem. Sexism is a problem. It's a male-dominated industry. And look, I'm not taking sides here. I'm not trying to put forth a solution, but it just made me really happy to see Yasmin and Jahan, go through something like this and emerge stronger and just get back to kicking ass and doing what they do best. And, if you hang out with these girls just for, half an hour, it's obvious that music is running through their veins. They're doing what they love to do, and they're so passionate. They're so good at it. And, I haven't talked to pure songwriters before on this show. And so that was so cool to get that perspective of a different side of the industry. Obviously, they're great DJs and performers, but, the songwriting is the heart of so much of the dance music that we love. And a lot of times the people who are writing those songs don't get much credit because it's, the DJ who puts their name on it. And so I love talking to those minds, to those people who are really making those connections for us, allowing us to connect emotionally to the music that we love. But I'm rambling here. I'm a little tired. So I want to just shut up and get into this conversation with Krewella. Let's get into it right now. This is me and Krewella. Back to back. Let's go. So this last weekend for me, I was in Norfolk, Virginia.
Yep.
I never know how to say it.
Did you play the Norva?
No, I was doing this kind of outdoor festival thing that was like right near the Norva.
Gotcha.
But, and I was supposed to do it, but then lightning happened and they canceled the show.
No. Damn.
And it was one of those frustrating things where it's like, you fly across the country, it was just a one-nighter. I took a red eye, so I got in that morning, showed up to do the show. Show gets canceled. I had a 5 a.m. flight back the next day.
Brutal.
And just like, I don't know if you guys get this, but it's like, you get this like nervous energy before a show, right?
Sometimes, yeah.
Yeah.
Or a lot of the time.
Or just excited energy or whatever it is that in theory you will then transfer to the show and everyone will love it. But then when the show doesn't happen, like I still feel like I'm a little on edge from that.
Oh, it rolled over into the rest of your life.
Oh yeah, exactly. I'm still
get it out.
I still feel like I'm wired. It's weird. What's a bad canceled show you guys have had? Anything?
Mexico.
Oh yeah, Mexico.
Monterey,
Hello
Mexico.
Fest.
We were about to walk on stage.
Yeah.
Literally
yes.
walking up on stage.
Okay.
And suddenly they were like, no, go back.
Wait, what happened?
Lightning.
Lightning. They had to tear the whole stage down because they were afraid it was going to just fall over.
Fucking lightning.
The LED screen was swaying back and forth.
Yeah, it was actually pretty freaky.
Directly
Oh,
above
God.
the DJ booth, I think.
Yeah.
They
All right,
actually
forgive
put it horizontally.
forgive my language, but Yasmin and I will call it a cock tease.
Yeah.
Pretty
Yeah.
what
That's
happens because
exactly.
you have all this pent up energy and you're about to go on stage, and it's just such a letdown when you get that final word from the stage manager who's saying we can't do it. It's a hazard.
Yeah, that's exactly what. And it was the same for me. Like the stage manager was like, "No, we have to cut it." And at first, it was like, "Well, maybe we'll come back, once the lightning passes," and then they cut it for real. And I'm like a low key guy, but in that moment, I was like shaking the guy. I was like, "Listen, you have to restart the show."
Did you do like a sideshow at a club or someone's basement?
I wish I would have, but by that point it was already like 11 p.m. and I had a flight at 5. There was like nothing to do.
Yeah.
It was just one of those things. But anyway, we're here. We're back. We're all in Los Angeles.
Where it doesn't rain or
Where-
storm.
Where nothing ever
Where it's the
happens.
same
We'll
every
never
day.
get canceled
Yeah.
here. Nothing will.
But when we get storms here, it's epic. I feel like
that's
we
true.
cherish them more because we
man.
don't get them as much.
Well, because we're Midwest kids, all of us.
Yeah.
so
Love
We had some
storms.
epic
I love
ones.
them.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I love them so much. And it's the only thing I miss out here. I guess that's cliche to say. But anyway, hi, guys. I
Hi.
should probably, for our listeners, we're here with Krewella. Go ahead and, I usually do this one-on-one, so go ahead and introduce yourself since we got two of you.
Yes.
Yes.
I'm Yasmin.
I'm Jahan.
Hey, guys.
For those of you
Hey.
who don't know, we're sisters.
Hey, that's
Yes.
crazy. And you guys have one other sister? is that
Yeah.
right?
Do you know Aisha?
Very vaguely.
might have crossed paths
We've
with
met.
her.
We've
Yep.
hung out.
Same circle.
Yep, all the
Yeah.
same circle. Well, this was my question. Is like, I love you guys, but we never really knew each other in Chicago, right? Like when we were actually there.
I don't think we crossed paths as much until we moved out of Chicago.
Right.
And then we started crossing paths more, which is the weird way the universe works.
Yeah, well, and I have that with so many people. I don't know about you guys. Like, so you were coming up in Chicago. Like, what were the college years? Like, what time period was that?
That was me.
Yeah, I never went to college.
Okay.
So we started touring when I was 19.
Okay.
And I just finished high school, and we just went straight into pretty much doing Krewella full time and then touring shortly after that.
And was that like 2009, 2010?
I graduated in 2010, so it was about late 2010, early 2011.
Okay, got you.
I think 2011 was the year we started.
Yeah.
Started
You know what?
touring.
Yeah, we released music in 2011, so touring would have been 2011.
Right. And I left Chicago in 2011. So
Gotcha.
yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Were you guys going out before that? Like, I was wondering on the drive here, I was like, did you guys come to like some of my parties back in the day, or did you go to any of the old like floss parties?
I don't think
Yeah.
so.
No,
like
because
that.
you were too.
I was too
you
young.
were
Your babies.
Yeah.
I knew about. It's crazy because like I knew about the scene because the internet and MySpace.
Right.
And that's the cool thing about MySpace is that it opens this. It's like a portal to expose you to so many different scenes and styles of music. And I remember all these electro bands that influenced us, and they like everything from like Electric Valentine, Ultraviolet Sound. I remember Floss coming up, Kid Sister.
Yeah.
Cash before they were Cash. The MySpace version.
Crazy.
Loved it.
And we didn't have as big of a following as all those other groups I talked about.
Right.
But I mean, we probably had like 300 followers on
Maybe.
MySpace or something.
Maybe.
So we had like a little moment on MySpace as one of those MySpace bands when Chris was in the group too.
Yeah, no, of course. I miss those MySpace days.
Me
I was just talking to Kurt and Josh, and I was telling them that when I moved to Chicago, kind of how I had met them, and I think they had both forgotten this, was that before I moved there, I sent them MySpace messages, just completely out of the blue, just being like, hey, I'm this guy, and I DJ, and you do too, and I'll see you soon. But the beautiful thing about MySpace was like that was acceptable.
So normal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's how we met one of our managers, Nathan.
Really?
Yeah, he hit us up on MySpace.
Yeah.
It's the best story
that
ever.
crazy?
That's amazing.
It's actually what Chris. It's kind of how I connected with him.
Oh,
like
really?
we met at parties. I was blacked out all the time. He was drunk. We were both just. It was high school partying.
Yeah.
But we connected on MySpace, which was what like, hey, are you going to so and so's house? And they're having their parents are out of town, and on Friday, that's how it's so weird. But it's like nostalgic to think about. But at the same time, I feel like it leads to a lot of like social. Like not deficiencies, what's the word? It leads to like social awkwardness sometimes because those are conversations like 20 years ago
Yeah.
that you could probably just have in person.
Oh, 100%.
But I was super awkward with boys. So
Yeah.
I would use MySpace and AIM as a way to just talk to people and have conversations
No,
that I
I
could
was
never
the same
carry in
way.
person.
Yeah, I was the same way. I feel like, I don't know, I'm such a late bloomer in life in general. And I feel like
I
a
can
lot
relate.
of
Guilty.
Yeah. I feel like a lot of us nerdy musicians are kind of that way. But yeah, only in the last like 5 years, not until I hit 30 did I really know how to talk to a person. in real life. It's like, and only in the last couple of years can I dress myself. It's really like,
It's all coming together.
But anyway, back to what you were saying about
Yeah.
crossing paths. I remember it was the mid, right?
Yeah.
I remember
there's this one
you at the
blurry
Mid.
photo. I don't know
Yeah.
if you guys
Oh,
remember
yeah.
it.
it was a
remember.
blurry night
Yeah.
for me.
I don't even remember who was playing.
I have no. I might have been playing. I don't.
You-
'cause
you
was
were
like
playing.
it was like an early.
Yeah.
It was like one of the first nights the Mid was open, right? I don't know.
We used to go there a lot.
Yeah,
We
I
all
did
met
too.
on the
man.
street.
Oh man.
I did.
And I
too.
was drunk there a
Yeah.
lot.
Oh, yeah.
I don't remember many of those nights. We look back on it and laugh now. At the time, like the next morning after, you're kind of like, what the fuck did I do? I said that. Oh my God, I puked there. I made out with that person. Will
Of all
oh
places,
my
I
God.
puked there.
Yeah, right?
The Mid is quite legendary.
It is.
Yeah, it is.
And it's still going. I mean,
know.
they've got a legacy at that club because usually a place like that will pop up for a few years and then kind of become uncool or get closed down or whatever. But You still go there. I don't know the last time you guys
We
were
just
there.
played there.
After party on our Sweatbox tour last fall.
October or November. I can't remember,
Yeah.
but it's still popping.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
still
It's crazy.
dope.
Like
yeah.
every night, I've never been there on a slow night. I don't know.
I don't think I have been either.
Shout out to those guys, React and
Yeah.
Lucas and all of them. That club's amazing.
We even went on like Tuesdays and Wednesdays and shit.
Oh yeah, Monday industry nights.
Just
like
to hang.
Yeah, we were such club rats. Oh my god! But it's crazy how every time I go back to Chicago, I'm always curious to see what clubs are the hot spots. And the Mid is the only. Oh, there's our dog right in your armpit.
Oh my god,
Oh
that's
my
really
God.
cute.
Is she licking your ear?
She wants to.
Oh,
Yeah.
she's like, can I listen to what you're listening to? In those
She just
headphones?"
got done with licking my toes for about 5 minutes.
So
Amazing.
she's
Yeah.
transferring your toe
Oh, that's
dirt over.
gross. It's
to
okay.
Willie's
Dogs'
ear.
mouths are
Yeah.
cleaner than humans or something.
Right, supposedly, yeah.
Supposedly. Maybe it's an urban legend. Oh my God, she loves you. She's like, I just met you, but I love you.
She's like, I'm trying to turn you into a dog person. Is she trying to jump up
She
on a
already
bench with
did,
you?
yeah.
Oh my god! Watch out, she might get a lick of your tea right there.
Yeah,
So
okay.
She's
I don't know
super
why she
needy.
could- yeah.
She's like one of the neediest dogs I've ever met.
We can just talk about our animals for the whole
Yeah.
time.
All day.
Because my
All
cat's
day.
the same way. So
love it.
needy.
The animal edition.
Yeah.
We should do a separate offshoot
Yeah,
podcast
that's the new
talking about
podcast, yeah.
animals where all these DJs talk about their pets and how much they miss them on the
Actually,
road.
that's a great idea.
I mean, there's so much you can learn from them.
I can send you
These
photos.
creatures.
You know.
Do you guys ever travel with her?
No,
Or would
we've-
that freak her out?
She's she's a rescue, so she's
Yeah.
got some issues. You know.
Yeah, of
She's a
course.
sweetheart, when you're at home with her, but we can't really take her to a dog park.
Oh, really? Kid doesn't even really get along with other dogs.
Nope.
Yeah.
Nope.
She's a liability.
Yeah.
We might end up in a few more lawsuits if we bring her anywhere.
Well, so I used to, like, one of my first, like, real gigs was DJing for Kid's sister
Yeah,
back in
yeah.
the day. And I did that for a couple of years. And she probably still has, a little dog that she got certified as a service animal. And, like, that dog went on tour with us, like,
That's amazing.
24/7.
Oh. Our older sister's friends with her.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. It's I've been meaning. I want to get her on this show just because she and I had such a crazy history, and I haven't talked to her in a long time now. But she was like, and Kid Sisters, who we're talking about for the listeners, such a like trendsetter and such a like trailblazer in a way that I feel like doesn't get talked about enough for all of the like the hipster rap stuff and the mixing dance with
Yeah.
pop stuff. I mean, it's similar to kind of the trailblazing stuff you guys did, just in a different combination of genres.
Yeah.
Did you know her at all? Have you met her?
No, I don't
Hung
think I've
out?
ever met her,
personally.
but we were definitely fans of her. She's sick.
Yeah, she's the
I
best.
don't know much about her music, but I do remember that she was really refreshing at the time because I hadn't seen any bad bitches.
Right.
And she was like coming up in this era where like we were just getting out of the whole like Britney Spears perfect. And by the way, I'm a huge Britney fan. As in, like,
yeah, me
her
too.
music is amazing. It's just,
100%.
it is amazing. And I've been following her career for years. We were just getting out of this era of just like
Groomed
the
pop star.
perfect, airbrushed, curvy pop star.
Yeah.
And there was like there was an archetype for like what a
Oh yeah,
female pop singer has to
100%.
look like
Christina
and dress
Aguilera,
like.
there's a whole crop
and
of
they're
them.
they're incredibly talented, but I felt like there weren't people representing different colors
Right.
and different attitudes also, and even
Well,
the way her
especially
form
in
of dress too.
In the indie dance scene, I feel like for a while, and it's still. I mean, I think the dance scene still has these problems, but for a minute there, I mean, it was very white, very male. It was like, I don't know, kind of a drag after a while. And she was a breath of fresh air for sure. But so you guys are from Chicago originally? Is that
We were
right?
born in Texas.
Okay.
We moved when I was 1 or 2. Jahan was 3 or 4. And so we don't remember any of it and don't really consider ourselves Texans.
Yeah.
Because I feel like I'm Chicago
Yep.
bred through and through.
Yep.
But Chicago is pretty much all we remember of childhood.
What part of the city were you living in?
We actually grew up in the suburbs
Okay.
in Northbrook, if you're familiar. It's a north suburb, like 20 miles north.
Right.
And then we moved to, we actually moved in 2011 to a loft in Fulton Market area, the meatpacking district, which is very different now. We
Oh
go
my
back.
God, yeah.
Oh my God.
A friend of mine just bought a condo there, which
Oh,
tells
which-
you enough.
Yeah.
My like
Crazy.
well-to-do business friend.
Yeah.
It's so different. When we were living there, it smelled like bleach and animal guts, and there was nobody on the streets. There was maybe one restaurant. I think Next was the only restaurant that was there.
Right. I remember that place.
Yes. And I think it's still there. And slowly, we lived there for about a year. As we lived there, it started just being slowly invaded. And then we moved to a little bit more of the West Loop area. But that was a cool place to live in because we got to see something before it was what it is today. And we get to go back and reminisce on the really grimy, disgusting, but genuinely authentic Chicago meatpacking district.
Yeah. It's a moment
like
in
chocolate
time.
At moments.
Oh, yeah, the chocolate
were you by the
factory.
chocolate factory?
Dude.
Oh, my God.
You would just get whiffs. All you do is walk a couple blocks away, and it's the scent, it changes from bleach to chocolate.
Oh, my God.
So bizarre.
It's so weird.
It was so bizarre.
I just
What an odd
threw
combo.
up a little bit.
But that's so, like, when a city stimulates your senses like that, it is truly nostalgia, and it's like that's like life right there. When you can think about places and think about the smells, and like the way the paint was peeling on certain buildings, and the way the brick was crumbling in the walls in our loft.
Right.
All over the States, pretty much every city is transforming like that, and we get to see that because we travel a lot.
Right.
I just hope that if that's going to happen, if you're going to put in a Whole Foods and like Google headquarters, which is what happened in the meatpacking district.
Right, yeah,
it's
true.
just, I hope there are some ways you could still honor the culture of that neighborhood.
You would hope so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
it's hit or miss. I mean, you see it in, I think New York is the best example of where it's not really working so well because everything's just getting pushed out and it's so expensive. And I don't even know where like broke kids go to live in New York anymore.
Yeah, the kids that you see like skateboarding on the streets, I'm like, where do you actually live?
Yeah, like the art
you're,
kids.
Yeah, you're in this area where it's probably $3,000 for a freaking one bedroom.
Little closet.
That's crazy to me.
it's called debt, though.
Yeah, true, true.
Living in the moment, not worrying about tomorrow.
It's one of those things where like the music industry is not a secure business at any level.
We talk about that every day,
Yeah.
probably.
Yeah, we had moments where I remember like checking or looking at our checking account, and there was.
Oh, I was definitely like negative $11
Yeah.
all the time.
Yeah,
But
you get those like overdraft fees.
yeah. I mean, it was Nathan, our manager, Chris, Jahan, and me living together. And so if I was at negative 11, I knew that somebody could buy me that box of cereal and a gallon of milk that would last me a couple of days. Because I definitely lived off cereal for a portion of that time in my life.
100%. Yeah.
And everything was kind of all good because you feel super invincible at that time in your life. It's scary to see the negative number on your bank account, but in my head, I was never worrying about like, oh my God, my future, my whole future. I'm going to be broke forever.
Retirement. Oh my God.
Yeah, exactly. Like my IRA.
That's like one of the last times we were really living in the present, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like I think about that all the time.
Yeah.
Because now I'm not, it's so hard for me to be in the present. Even, I mean, I think on stage is maybe the only time, but otherwise, like, I'm always thinking about, responsibilities and life stuff and just adult shit. And back then, I mean, it was just like, I like doing this thing. I'm going to do it. Like that was it, And I didn't really have an overarching plan for what it was going to be.
We didn't either.
There's
Definitely
such
relatable.
Yasmin and I talk about this a lot. Actually, we were talking about this in the car on the way home from the studio. Just because like our overhead is so high and like running our business, we're indie now, so it's
I can
like
only imagine,
we're investing.
I want to
in
talk about that
ourselves.
later too. Yeah.
And like some things don't go as smoothly. I know like on social media and from the outside, fans and people in the industry will never know what's happening internally within a business, whether it's crisis or, But we're like, at what point, like you hear so many people, this is like ancient wisdom, this idea of letting go and just trusting life's flow and going with the flow and trusting the people around you. But at what point do you like really try to take control and say like, something's not right and I am going to micromanage here?
Right. Yeah. You have to step in at certain points.
And it's really hard finding that balance because I feel like my own struggle is letting go because I am somewhat of like I like to know what's happening. I like to be in control.
Yeah, this happened for me like the first time I got a booking agent or the first time I got a manager, where I in my head I was like, oh great, I can offload all of these neurotic tendencies of mine, someone else can take care of it. But then I just ended up like trying to manage them, you know?
I do feel like, I micromanage in a sense.
Not necessarily in a bad way, but it's I still
you want to
can't.
oversee.
Yeah, exactly. Like even though it's my team and it's people I trust, still somehow I can't let it go. You know.
I think it's you also being a smart business person too. But as artists, you need to like free up that space in your brain for creativity. So there's always that point where you're like, okay, I'm not going to worry about anything today. I know the future is a little scary and it's uncertain, but
I'm obsessed with creativity too, and how to find it, how to access it. I'm one of those people where I'll have, a month or two where it's really, really, really good. And right now I'm in the period where I just can't write anything. I can't get anything done. It's kind of everything feels like a slog.
But look what you're doing.
Well, yeah.
You're accessing a different place.
Absolutely.
For creativity.
Yeah, no, and this show has been amazing for that. And I like hearing how other people deal with it too. I mean, you guys, it seems like my perception is that you're in the studio kind of all the time, constantly.
Yeah, pretty much every day. We landed back from Europe and took an Uber straight to the studio, mainly because we had some stuff we needed to finish, but it was also such a great session. It's like, yes, you're jet lagged. Yes, you just got off a 12-hour flight, but there's so many things that when a studio session ends and you still feel like you have more to do, it just rolls over into the next one and those things are just brewing. And so it's always exciting because we talk about this a lot. Being a solo artist is so much harder. Like we have it easier, so much easier, being with each other all the time, always being able to bounce stuff off each other. We work with some amazing people. Cody Tarpley, this guy that we do a lot of production and vocal production and writing with, he is like, talk about inspiration. He is always inspired. He's constantly pushing us to find new outlets for inspiration. So I think it's the people we're surrounded by, each other, that just constantly keeps it flowing. Even if I have a day where I'm tired or not inspired, it'll trigger.
Sure, somebody can pick you back
exactly.
up. Exactly. When, I mean, you guys already have said a few times, you talked about the team around you and your squad and the people you came up with. And it seems like that's, would you agree that's kind of like an integral part of what you do is kind of the people you found and kept around? And how did you find people that early on in your career that ended up sort of rocking with you the whole way? I feel like that's pretty rare.
It is. Yeah, MySpace. Oh my God.
Right.
Yeah.
Nathan, so we had two managers, Nathan and Jake. Nathan found us on MySpace. Literally hit us up, hey fam. Jake Udell, I graduated with, actually.
Oh, okay.
So we knew of each other. We were probably like friends on Facebook and So I think he was keeping his eye on us.
And what were they doing at the time? Was this were they starting their careers at the same time, or had they been established a little bit?
Nathan was training to be a figure skater in the Olympics. And then he also was going to potentially go into medical school to be a plastic surgeon.
God, I love that.
So he had a couple, he's a wacky artist himself, and not like in a music making way, but in just a creative,
the way his brain works.
Yes. Oh my God, it's amazing. He's definitely our crazy creative side of the management.
Sure, the idea guy.
Yeah, well, ideas in terms of like the music and the way to help the music get out there, he's great with. But he was doing that and then decided to just drop everything with us. We decided to drop everything 6/8/10, our dedication day.
Right.
He's a part of that day. And he has the tattoo, the 6/8/10 tattoo, because he dropped those other amazing things he had going for him to pursue this with us, which I think is really special, because that is true dedication. When it's not even your artist project, you are just managing it. You're not really on the outside, you're very much on the inside, but it's not something that you can walk around and be like, yeah, this is my song. But
not in control.
Yeah, and so that's true dedication to say, I'm going to drop my plans and do this big thing with you. And
Yeah.
so yeah, that was really cool. That's hard to find, especially in this industry.
I think you're right. And it's interesting what you said about, it's like he can't walk around being like, that's my song or whatever. And I almost admire people like that more than people like me, because for me, I would want to be like, yeah, that's my song.
Yeah.
And it would be hard for me to be like, well, it's not my song, but I'm involved.
Yeah.
But then there are people who like, that's their shit and that's what they want to do and what they like doing. And I don't know. I have so much respect for managers and business people who can do that so well, because I can't. And the fact that, my team helps me do what I do, it's like I couldn't do any of it without them, Anyway, I'm rambling. And my point was that I think it's really cool that you guys found that team so early on and kind of stuck with it all the way through. Because, I mean, at this point, that's your whole team, right? More or less, it's like your day ones.
Yeah.
Yeah. Our history with Nathan is amazing, because when you think about, first of all, the risk he took, like Yasmin said, he could have had a successful career doing something else.
Right.
Like, he was extremely talented. It was almost there in front of him. He just had to continue with his education.
Yeah.
And that in itself shows like what you said, dedication, and the fact that he was willing to do so much to build with us, like even running with us in the summer in the suburbs of Chicago and telling us to sing while we're running.
Really?
And creating a system for us it's crazy when you think about how creative he was. And just,
Even back then.
yeah.
Well, let's talk about that a little bit. Was music a part of your life growing up, first of all? Like performing or singing or anything like that?
Not in a professional way by any means,
Right.
but we were always making music together as kids. We had the beginner drum set and the Fender guitar and the Gibson acoustic, and we would just rock out as kids. And Jahan was in choir, and I took violin for 8 years. And,
Oh, awesome.
I mean, so there was definitely music always in our lives. Our parents are huge music fanatics and always had music playing in the house.
Sure.
And
I was going to say, if you had all those instruments, they must
Yeah.
have been big supporters.
they were so supportive. Now that I think back on it, they weren't like, here's this instrument, I need you to play it for 6 hours a day, and I'm taking you to this lesson. And
Right.
they're just like, here it is, have fun. Like, just
yeah.
rock out.
Let's see what happens.
They never complained when we were loud, because, man, like, I would slam on the drums as a kid, or just like be in my closet playing guitar awfully. And
Yeah.
Jahan was doing the same thing in her room. And we didn't really have parents who complained,
Yeah.
which was really nice.
I was to say, my parents suffered through years of me poorly covering metal songs
Oh,
on my
no.
guitar with the amp cranked.
Yes. But yeah, so I think it was always in our lives, but never seemed like it was a real plausible career outlet.
Sure.
So that's what's so cool about finally realizing your dream is your career, that you didn't think it could be in the first place. But
Yeah.
here you are today, making it happen.
When did you kind of start wanting to do it as a performative thing? Like, what were some of the first, other than like a choir performance or something, but as sort of as DJs or as singers in this genre, what were kind of your early experiences in Chicago?
I'd say so we started in 2008. Like Yasmin mentioned before, 2010, the summer of 2010 is when we all decided we had to quit our side jobs and not to continue college, just to dedicate ourselves to Krewella.
Right.
And that's really when we realized that we don't have a choice, and this is our career.
Yeah.
And it's no longer like, hey, I'm in college and I'm a makeup artist and I'm a singer-songwriter on my MySpace profile.
Right.
But,
Once you like cross out a few of those,
yeah.
life gets a little
It's
more
one-
serious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was that moment when it really started feeling like this has to be our career, even though we weren't making money off of it.
Right.
And then once we got our first couple touring gigs and interest from major labels, that's when it felt legit. That's
Sure.
when it was like, holy fuck, someone pinched me. And that's when our parents started taking us seriously
Right,
too.
right. So that's interesting then. So did you guys kind of have more of that traditional, what you would think of as like a band experience from maybe 10, 20 years ago, where it was like you got discovered in a way? I mean, obviously there was a
I know
ton
what
of
you
work to
mean.
get to that point.
Yeah.
But, you're talking about sort of an early thing was major label interest. which is, for this show that's talking to mostly weird DJs, like that would never even come up. And so that's really interesting to me. How early on were the labels sort of talking to you guys? Was it sort of after
2012.
Yeah, 2012, which was pretty recent, or soon after we released music in the spectrum
Right.
of normal artist careers, which we're super thankful for. But I still think that for our first major label release, our Play Hard EP back in 2012, we white labeled it. We didn't even announce that we were on Columbia Records. So it was still something that we wanted to keep very much Krewella. Like it wasn't, we still made all the music. They came in after we had finished that EP and signed us based off of the finished EP.
Right.
And so we didn't want anything to taint what we already had.
Yeah.
So we tried to keep it as like a side compartmentalized
Sure.
thing.
No, that makes total sense. And I think that worked. I mean, I remember when you guys were putting up the first, I think the first thing I heard from you guys was the Knife Party remix that you did. Yeah, which I loved. I still remember,
thank you.
I have a very concrete memory of sitting in my place and just like playing it like 10 times in a row. And like, what is this?
That's dope.
And then I think the EP that you guys put out, I still remember I was like, oh yeah, they stuck to their guns. This is dope. Like, I guess I didn't even really realize that was a major label. So I think it worked.
Yeah, they were really Columbia was supportive of keeping it under wraps until the first album came out too, which is really nice. I think they valued our love for the underground scene, or valued the idea that this precious electronic scene that was still such a baby in terms of, I guess, mainstream. Now we can't say that, but back then it really was. They respected that we wanted to keep it something that was very, very in it and not try and make it bigger or better
not
than
cash
what
in
it
on
exactly
the trend. Yeah. Well, and that's something, it's a good note because I think a lot of listeners to this show don't even really realize that, even 5 years ago, dance music was not mainstream and there was this underground, and, doing things with a major label was hard to do and was almost unheard of. And it's wild to see how far it's come now. I mean, it's pop music now. You just turn on the radio and it's, even if it's not like a quote unquote EDM song, it's still, you hear the same production techniques.
It has roots,
even if there's no drop.
Yeah, right. Well, I think that's the key, right? I think so many people are trying to figure out now, how do I make an EDM song without the drop that like my fans will accept?
Yeah, something I can tour off of.
Right, yeah, and play at the festivals and all that. You guys seem to be doing that fairly well.
God, I don't even know what it means to do that well anymore, because when we're in the studio, we have tried to just not think about that anymore.
When you can't.
It's just out of our heads completely. We're like, well, we'll figure it out later. We'll just not worry about it right now.
No, of course.
The story, the songwriting, the melodies has longevity, and that's what we focus on. And it also makes our sessions so much easier compared to like 2 years ago when we're like, oh, but we should do this, write this vocal so it could work into a drop. Oh, no, but this would be the buildup. Like Yasmin said, it's just the skeleton. It's just the song, what you can sing in a room or sing over guitar.
Yep.
And the rest will follow. And if it doesn't, it allows us to be so much more free also and just have songs.
Yeah.
Just songs.
Yeah,
with
songs.
whatever
Remember songs?
with whatever structure we want.
It's one of those things where if you start thinking about it too much, like you were saying, like where does the drop happen? How do I lead up to it? You already kind of like lost the battle for that
talk
song.
about creativity.
Right, yeah. The one way to kill creativity, for sure. And I think you're right that, I mean, the core, it doesn't even matter what genre it is, right? It's like the core of it is a song. It's lyrics and a melody, and it's the human voice. Like for me, which is a weird thing because I don't sing, and the human voice for me is 100% the most powerful instrument in the world, beyond any crazy sound design anyone can do, any instrument anyone can play. Like some guy can just sit on a street corner and like sing a song and I'll start crying.
Yeah.
I try to get back to that too in my own way of just like, let's keep it simple. It's just whatever the core of the idea was, stick to that. And usually
we talk about that in the studio all the time. Like we were like, what was the first thing that we sang, or what was the first thing that we tried? That was probably the most authentic thing.
Yeah.
We can make it a little bit better and change it a little bit, but yeah, we talk about that a lot.
Music makes me cry, though, I gotta say. Instrumental tracks, there have been
Me too.
so many.
Absolutely.
That,
I mean, I'm not shitting on that at all, but music and like movies are kind of the only way.
Oh my God, yeah.
And I mean, it only gets worse as you get older, but yeah. And on planes.
You're more
and-
susceptible
Oh my God,
to crying.
I listen
Yeah.
to the
God,
Interstellar soundtrack on planes all the
Oh,
time. I'm
God.
just like, oh my God, my whole life is laid out in front of me right now. What am I? Who am I? What's my purpose?
The universe is so vast.
Yes, exactly.
Because you don't have distractions on the plane.
Yeah.
I've noticed that. I cry when I watch movies on the plane.
Oh my God,
It's
Same.
something about, someone
Yeah.
was telling me it's something about the altitude too.
No way.
that
Thank
makes
God it's
you
not
more
just me being
emotional.
super sensitive.
It's something about like,
Wow.
I don't know if your blood is thinner or something. I don't know
Yeah.
what it is.
I
but-
believe it.
Yeah,
I totally
yeah.
do.
That's crazy.
Someone like cited a study to me. It could be bullshit, but
It makes sense.
It does make
because
sense
I
to
find
me.
myself thinking about a lot of like existential things on the plane.
Yep.
And I think you just feel alone, and you're
Yeah.
up there in the atmosphere.
yeah.
And it's such a vulnerable place to be in. You have no connection with family. I mean, obviously, Yasmin's
No
a few
contact.
rows down from
right,
me.
right, yeah.
Yeah. So I think it leaves you to like, if I watch a movie like Benjamin Button, I remember that movie just like bringing me to tears. I don't know why. And it just made me think about like love and relationships and being in love. And it's
Yeah,
made me
and
think
you're
about
in this
things.
like weird silent tube. Yeah, it's,
Oh my
it's
God,
like
yeah.
it's kind of like a very uncomfortable like isolation tank.
Yeah, right.
It's like the worst isolation tank. And to take it back to what we were saying about the voice and music just accessing your emotions, for me that's 100%. Like I think I'm like emotionally repressed a little bit, and so for me like. That's the only way I can get to that is through music or through film or just art in general,
Yeah.
I think. But yeah, I don't know.
Do you find moments, I don't know whether it's like a week or a few months where you're like, I felt like numb lately and I want to access those emotions and feel something.
Yeah, for sure. Or it's like I don't even think about it, and then when something snaps me out of it, I kind of realize that I've been that way. Like
So there's
I-
a trigger.
Yeah, oh, for sure. Like that happened to me last night, actually. I was up doing some research for talking to you guys and just like planning because I'm leaving town a couple days. And I was listening to some old, I don't even remember, just some old DJ mix of like a DJ I loved in the 90s. And some song came on and like just random, like I was just like, I'm browsing the internet. I was not doing anything emotional.
Yeah.
And just like some song came on faintly in the background. I teared up a little bit for no reason.
Oh, it's beautiful.
That's amazing.
And then I was like, oh yeah, I guess I'm stressed out or something. Like, it's like
Yeah.
that's how it happens for me. Is I only realize it later, I guess.
It's like these emotions are dormant, and it takes sometimes it takes music or some sort of visual stimulation, like whether you're looking out the plane
Yeah.
to really activate those emotions.
I mean, is being in the studio and writing for you guys, is that a therapeutic thing?
Yeah, very. I mean, we have this process that we've been running with for almost a year now, that when we're writing, we'll just go in the booth and just sing melodies and let whatever comes out come out freely.
I like
And there's a
that.
door on the vocal booth. Nobody can see you.
Right.
It's completely pitch
We're
black.
probably both in there just like waving our arms around and our faces are all screwed up.
That's
and
the best.
I mean, that to me is, maybe I don't sing great melodies, and maybe one out of every 50 things I sing or lyrics I say are the thing that sticks. But
Yeah.
that whole process is this just release the whole time,
Yeah,
which
that's
is
so
really cool.
I like that. I feel like that's the wave now too. Like you think about the rap world, like that's how everybody's writing now.
Gibberishing.
Like, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Like I saw like a video of Future in the studio, and I mean they just put on the beat and he didn't say a word. He just went in there and started just kind of like saying words. you know?
sick.
And he would just go for half an hour or something, and then they'd kind of go over it later and be like, yeah, that was cool.
It's
and they moved
exactly
this
what we do.
here.
Yeah,
That's
that's our
crazy.
process.
So, and you just started doing this recently?
Probably about a year ago, yeah.
Okay.
It's fun.
It's
Yeah.
so
really
much
fun.
It changed the game for our enjoyment in the studio.
Yeah.
Kind of
too.
brought it back.
Yeah. It's not like sitting there like, all right, where are we going with this melody? What are we doing? It's like
Right.
you just go in there, you be free. We
Chop
all
it
get a we all get a turn, and then Jahan will be inspired by something I do. I'll be inspired by something she does, and it's like this weird cycle, and somehow we'll get a song out of it.
Yeah,
And
right.
You asked this question about therapy and if studio is like therapy for us, and I think about this a lot because Yasmin and I feel like both of us aren't the type of people who are like, we go out, meet up with friends or family, and just kind of like unleash everything that's happening in our lives. Like, oh my God, this happened, and it's so stressed out, and like this person did this.
Yeah.
And I feel like even though we're not like consciously like talking about the events that are happening in our life in the studio, we're purging those emotions through songs. And like one example is the shit that went down with Chris a few years ago now, I'd say. 3 years
Something
ago, it's
like
like,
that, yeah.
Yasmin, I didn't even want to talk about because everyone was asking
Of
us. You were
course.
just you're rubbing shoulders with people, you know, at events or at shows, and everyone's like, "Yo, what happened? I saw this TMZ shit," and it's just like we didn't even want to talk about it because we got to talk about it with each other in the studio so much, and even though the songs are never out, we wrote so many songs that kind
Right.
of like helped us get through,
Of course,
what was happening. And I think that's why therapy in general is so important, whether it's journaling, meditating, going to a professional therapist.
Boxing.
But yeah,
Boxing.
working
Do you do
out,
that?
whatever it is.
I've been kind of wanting to try
Do
boxing.
it.
Yeah?
It's the best.
I
We'll
gotta
get
do
shredded.
it.
But yeah,
100%.
I think that's why it's so important. And I feel like we live in this era where people aren't seeking help and they're not finding ways to get in touch with their emotions because they're so distracted, whether it's social media consuming
Yeah.
them. And that's really important for just for like unleashing whatever is built up inside of you, whatever negative energy is
Well,
there.
and especially for people in the music industry, I feel like there's so much, social media, I want to talk about that in a second, but, between that and just the competitive pressure that we all put on ourselves and, just what you said, that you get to a certain point and now or things happen and then there's an article or a TMZ or whatever it is, there's all this external stuff. And I think for me, at least, the mentality was always, or was for a long time, just like, well, now I just have to work harder. If that negative thing happened, that just means I have to push harder, which is good in some ways. But then if you don't actually deal with the things that are happening, it's going to run out after a while. But let's go back to social media for a second, because that's something I thought of last night when I was thinking about coming to talk to you guys, was that I remember when you were first starting out, you were heavy on social media with vlogging and
the Vine.
Yeah, Vine. Yeah. I remember that
Good
too.
old Vine.
Good old Vine.
Remember the Vine? It's like, hey, remember MySpace? Yo, remember the Vine days?
Oh my God.
Yo,
So-
you were like a Vine star.
Whoa.
Well, I have
We
to,
met on Vine.
just because Vine never comes up, I have to take this opportunity to flex about Vine for a minute. I have the most viewed thing I will ever do in my career in any genre
What
is
was
in
it?
Vine. Do you know the Rick Ross pear meme?
No. Well, wait. Yeah, I kind of remember it.
Yeah,
It had
so-
its moment where
Yeah,
it was like a huge thing.
Yeah,
but I never
It was just this.
understood it.
Well, okay, so I made that, which is like, I am responsible for a viral meme. That's like
That's pretty fucking cool.
It's
too.
it's bizarre. It's great, but it also has so many more views than all of my music combined. So it's like it's a little
Want
bit.
to run our social media?
Well, if you were still on Vine, I would say yes. But no, it's the one and only Vine I ever posted, and it has like 60 million views or something. It's crazy. And all it was this interview of Rick Ross drunk in London talking to Tim Westwood. If you know him, Tim Westwood is like a British hip hop interviewer guy.
Yeah, I know what
and
you're
they were
talking
both wasted at a club some night. And it was right after Rick Ross lost a bunch of weight. And Tim Westwood said, like, oh, you look good or something. And Rick Ross is shirtless in a chair. It's like got the giant chain and all that. He's like, hey, I eat pears and shit like that now. Shout out to all the pear. And he said pear, not pears.
Oh my
And I just, in that moment, I was like, that's a Vine.
Yeah.
And I just chopped it up. So it's just like, I eat pears and shit like that now. Shout out to all the pear. I eat pears and shit. And it was something about it.
Oh my God.
Anyway, I have a weird relationship
Vine
with Vine.
moment.
Yeah. But wait, so what were you doing, like comedy stuff on Vine?
I don't even remember. Just
Stupid shit.
really
Yeah,
stupid,
yeah.
but
Stupid shit.
stuff that really honestly was genuine. I would just pull out the phone and you would too, and we'd just film stupid shit that we were doing, and it wasn't planned. We
Yeah.
were like, all right, stand here, and then like, no, like say it right now. No, we didn't plan any of it, which is, I guess, the good part about it, because it was just
that's how you're
authentically
supposed to
what
do it,
the
I think.
fuck we were doing at the moment,
Yeah.
and how weird we were, and I guess still are, but it was cool for the moment, and I'm glad It's weird. Social media, I have a very strange relationship with
Right.
because it's definitely a love-hate. I get it. I understand its purpose. I love that we can use it to connect with our fans, and everything along that spectrum is great. But then the fact that it can take over your life
Right.
and you can become a mindless zombie, different story.
And that was kind of, that was where I was going with it. Was like, at first it seemed like, you guys are very heavy on social media, and I think it was authentic, and I think it helped you at the same time
yes,
in your
definitely.
career. And then it seemed like, and again, we haven't seen each other in a long time, so correct me if I'm wrong, but it seemed like then for a while, maybe around the Chris stuff or whatever, you guys were off of it much more, and it was much quieter, and now maybe coming back a little bit more. And I just wanted to talk about, your relationship with it, because I have a very... I hate it, honestly. I don't like
It's
doing
all
it.
hate, no love.
In a way. Like, I mean, I love talking to people who like my music, and I love talking to my friends who I never get to see, and all of that. But just in terms of, like, I don't know, I guess I'm just a private guy. Like, it's never my first thought to be like, I'm eating a sandwich. Everybody must know. Like,
I can relate to that because I
Same.
feel like I've been in that position where I thought in social media.
right.
And
Yeah,
I was
like-
good at it. I
yeah,
was great
you
at
train
marketing.
yourself,
We were
right?
great at marketing ourselves, and myself. It's like you're building a personal brand. And I feel like I looked at life through the lens of Instagram. And now I just don't. We ask me, and I have to be reminded sometimes, like, hey, like, guys, show us what you're doing in the studio today. Sometimes we
Our
need those
manager
little-
will message us. And
which is
be like,
really
"Post
important. I
something."
totally get it. Like there's a direct correlation between your social relevancy and your success with music and how much exposure it gets. I really get it as a business person. It's free marketing,
Right.
But I think as human beings, that's me talking about Krewella as a business and as an artist. When I think about like us as just human beings, Yasmin, it's really important for us to be present.
Right.
And I feel like your analysis is correct about our social media and how we withdrew.
Sure.
And I think a huge part of that is because at the time, I felt shame from the stories that were being
the words
told.
out of my mouth.
And
Yeah.
that it shouldn't be that way. Obviously, I don't have any regrets. I felt what I felt, and it got me to where I am today. We talk about this a lot, where everything we went through was meant to be because
Of
we're
course.
here in this moment. But I think I was just it's kind of like a divorce. I don't know what it's like to get a divorce, but I can imagine it's embarrassing to talk about. And
Right.
if it's public, and if fucking TMZ is talking about it and Deadmau5 is talking shit about you and
Yeah.
spreading rumors and you've never met him before, it's like you like walk around and you're like, I just remember going to like a cafe down the street. I remember going to Lemonade, and it was like probably a week after the shit went down.
Yeah.
And this girl was like, "Oh my God, you're Krewella." And we don't get recognized much. It's cool.
I was gonna ask,
We
actually.
don't. It's
Yeah.
great. We can go to the gym, go to the grocery store, and we're just private citizens.
Yeah.
But this one girl did recognize me. And in the moment, I felt like I closed up, and I didn't even want to say yes. I was just like, "Yep, I am." And I just wanted to get my food, and I
Right.
left. And now if someone said that, I'm like, "Yeah, do you listen to our music?" But that moment stands out so much because I'm like, why wasn't I proud to be in Krewella?
Right.
Why was I letting what stories people say about us or what rumors are spreading define how I feel about myself in my own story?
When I saw that happening, I think social media was all from the other side, like from the people watching it happen to you guys, was also kind of the problem. Like, I had a major issue with a lot of people's reactions to that. I felt like it, to me, like exposed a lot of sexist and like just weird undertones about the way different kinds of artists are perceived in this business. And yeah, like to put it bluntly, like once there's no dude in the group, then somehow
Who does the work?
Right.
Oh no!
yeah,
Who
exactly.
does the work?
Yeah, it's crazy. I don't know. And just to see and to hear people say that, like people I knew would say that, people I like. And it was weird to me, like people who generally I respect. And
people we liked. Yeah. I was like, damn, dog, I thought you were a homie what's going on?
Yeah, and it's
Yeah.
just, and I don't want to like belabor the dark period, but to me it was just like
The dark times of Krewella. It's so funny we refer to it.
Yeah, but the great thing is we can talk about it with a smile now,
Right.
Because it's not as heavy now.
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. I guess I'm curious, like in your experience, because I don't want to be like a guy being like, here's the problem with women in the industry. But have you experienced any kind of overt sexism or just judgment, either before or after the split that kind of just changed the way you... Like, did you realize people were perceiving you in a different way than you perceived yourself at any point? I know that's kind of a broad question.
No, it's great.
I feel like I was really naive before that happened, and I was in a good way because I think we were present. I was kind of like, I'll dress the way I want to dress. I'm going to talk about dick. I'm going to blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
I'm going to post whatever picture. Not like I was posting nudes or anything.
Right. Yeah.
But then when the lawsuit and the public attention it got and the backlash was a reality check that people do perceive us in a certain way. Like really this whole time you don't think that Yasmin and I are a part of the music making and you think we're
Right.
just up there jumping around on stage and that's our only purpose in Krewella. So it was a reality check. And going back to the shame thing, I think after that I felt like I couldn't even dress the same. I was like,
Right.
wow, if people think that my only purpose in this group is to be the slut or,
Yeah.
then I don't, we're playing a 90-degree festival. I don't want to show too much skin,
Right, yeah.
And that
Jesus,
it started
yeah.
there was a period of time where it started shaping everything from the way I dressed to my activity online, my dialogue. And I feel like I did suppress myself. And now back to the whole present moment thing.
Yep.
Right now, I think we're in a point where
Yeah.
it's like, I don't care. I don't care. I want to be who I am. And I don't want my behavior to be so affected about what people think about
Yeah.
me.
I was just going to say that a very similar thing about how before everything went down with the lawsuit, it was like we were living in this fantasy land of like, oh, everything's great. You are very naive. And it is, the scary part is realizing that all along people have these thoughts about you, but they just don't surface until this
Right.
one big trigger moment. And it is scary, but it's also super enlightening because now I think before, I think I was always a feminist. I know it's such a buzzword, but I think it's important to talk
Oh,
about.
absolutely.
I think I was always a feminist, but now I am proud to be one. Now I am proud to speak my mind about things that I think are wrong in this world. Not like I'm trying to preach anything. I'm just trying to spread some knowledge that I have learned through
Your own
living.
experience,
Exactly.
right? Yeah.
And so I think I get to be more aware of what's happening in the world because of this one thing that happened to us. And it doesn't seem as heavy now because I have more perspective on life. And yeah, I feel a little bit older. I feel a little bit less naive or less present, which sucks because I want to be a child forever. That's like my one goal in life. I want to be a big kid forever.
Yeah.
And I really do.
With a dragon.
With dragon and magic and like that's my whole thing.
Game of Thrones is coming back,
Dude,
right?
I'm so fucking excited. Don't get me started. Jon Snow is the hubby.
That's a whole nother podcast.
Yes, yeah, that's a whole nother podcast. But I think that I'm very, very thankful and grateful for what happened because I used to not be. I used to really, really be bitter about it. But now I'm just like, I get to be hopefully, John and I both get to hopefully be a beacon towards something moving forward in a positive direction.
Yeah. Well, maybe that's a good way to talk about the new record that you guys just put out. It sounded like really free. Like you were saying, like, you talking about your studio method of going in and kind of what comes out. And it's this, to me, it was like this new refreshing sound. And I'm just curious about the process from going from having like a dedicated producer to being more of a collaborator and working with different people. I know you guys work with Discord, who are my homies who I love so much.
Oh,
Those
yeah.
dudes.
Can you interview them too?
I really
Yeah.
want to. They got to come
They're so
stateside
funny.
again.
They're so funny.
Yeah.
You will have the best time.
We're like,
oh my God.
We've been internet friends for so long, and then we finally ran into each other very drunk in Vegas one night and just had the best night. But that was like the only time we've been in person, so I'm really excited to like be a real person with them. Yeah.
They are a godsend. We have a few godsends when I think about people to collaborate with. They're just so crazy talented and so undiscovered.
And
Right.
they very much understand our vision, and it's a mutual love for what the other person does, which is very hard to find. I think that, oh my God, our dog is like snoring right now. It's really cute. I think it's really hard to find someone in the studio who's not ready to just be like, I mean, your ideas are cool, but like, yo, look at this.
Right.
It's so much like, yo, that's a great idea. I think I have something to add to it.
Yeah,
Instead,
no
or,
egos. And,
yeah, exactly.
yeah.
And just a mutual respect for each other. I think that they are like that with us. I think that the guy I mentioned earlier, Cody, oh my God, we just get in the room and we're just in awe of each other, which feels like you're working with people who really get to see your vision out, which as an artist is all you ever really want.
Yeah,
I mean, I
yeah.
just want our vision to be out there in the world so people can hear it and take from it what they want.
Right. So how does that, what's the process like working with, someone like Discord? How does it start? Like, do you come with a melody or a lyrical idea, or do they send you, a framework?
It varies song to song. The first record that we did a collaboration with Discord was the song called Beggars. That was the first one, right? And that was through the internet. We didn't even know them personally at the time. And we sent them, I think it was just the acapella. And then they sent, I mean, they're so competent that Yasmin and I barely had revisions. We probably got 3 other versions. They went back and forth maybe 3 to 5 times.
Yeah.
Then we had Derek from Sum 41 lay down guitar on it.
Oh,
So that's the
amazing.
guitar that you hear.
Amazing.
It's like living the dream
Wow.
right there.
That's incredible. I didn't know that.
Yeah, all the
Wow.
guitars on that song is Derek.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, from there, it just became this really great relationship of us sending songs, and they would be stoked on a song that they'd want to work on, and we'd go back and forth over the internet. And then finally, they came to LA 8 months ago. I want to say either the end of 2016 or beginning of 2017. I can't remember. But it was about 8 months ago, and we finally got to be in the studio with them. And it was really fun just meeting them and seeing their process. And they're, like I said before, they're just so funny,
Yeah.
and we have a lot of the same taste in music, and we were writing stuff that was more inspired by hip hop, and both of them fucking love hip hop
Right.
so much. So they were geeking out about some new songs we wrote, and it was a really cool experience to just be physically there instead of being internet collaborators.
Yeah,
it's always
yeah.
a different experience.
Always very different.
Yes.
We want to see them win. I think when you meet people and they're such genuine artists and there's this mutual respect, we're rooting for them.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I
Me
wish
too, man.
I want everybody to know their music. They're like,
They're so good.
I think they're probably some of the best producers out there, and it's crazy to me that more people don't know about them.
Yeah.
But that will change. I have faith.
Yeah, they're definitely, I think they're like an artist favorite right
Yeah,
now. Like
yeah.
everyone who knows,
Yes.
like in our world knows about
Yeah.
them. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just a matter
True.
of getting them out there. Maybe it's because they're in the UK. I don't know.
Maybe.
Could be.
And it's hard to, it's weird that like a physical distance in 2017 would change that, but it still is kind of weird.
Yeah.
that,
But you have social media now. It's
well,
crazy.
right. Yeah.
Sometimes all it takes is one meme.
Yeah.
That's it.
One Vine.
Okay, so that's
To
another.
expose your music.
That's another thing. Now I feel like you almost need a meme. Like I feel like labels are looking for like how can we meme this song to
If
make
they're
it
smart,
popular,
yeah.
right?
Oh my God, like
Yeah.
Drake, every Drake song
Yeah,
ever.
Like
yeah.
Drake, like Drake's life is a meme, and it's very
Absolutely.
self-designed. You know,
Oh, he's
But
too smart.
he's so smart. Yeah. And it's, you look at like, I don't know, like Bad and Bougie, there were all those memes around, like the raindrop, drop top.
Yeah.
They're just like, and I feel like the label seeded those memes.
That's what we thought about Hotline Bling. All
Really?
those memes with that. I was like, there's no way.
Yeah.
There's no
So
way.
smart, though.
Yeah.
It's too smart.
We live in such a strange culture. We're going to look back on this like
Yeah.
10 years from now, and it'll all make sense. Like
Right.
right now, you can't even describe it. I can't even comprehend what's happening.
Right.
Like the fact that now it's so, unless you're like Adele, most of the time as an artist, you really do need the social media presence and you need something that's shareable to accompany your music.
Which, yeah, I mean, I don't know how I feel about that. That was really cute.
That was so cute. Oh my God. Wow. Listeners at home, I wish you could see how fucking cute our dog is.
I can
It's all-
confirm that's a cute dog.
It's like she's doing yoga in
Yeah,
her sleep or
actually.
something.
Yeah, that just wiped my brain or whatever.
I know. Yeah.
But yeah, it's a weird time. I know what I was going to say is that I don't know how I feel about the fact that you really kind of do have to have a social shareable component to your music. Because for me, and maybe this is just me slowly becoming an old man, but for me, it's like I started doing this because music. It wasn't because of any of the rest of it. It wasn't because of the lifestyle or the fans or whatever it was. Like I just really liked making music, but performing music, I think to me is like that's really why I keep doing it. Is I think I'm just addicted to like the live
Hell
show.
yeah.
I don't know. What's your favorite part? If you had to pick, like, is it the
Both
writing?
therapy in some way, right?
Right. Yeah.
I mean, certain shows to me are absolutely unbeatable. Our last tour last year, the Sweatbox tour, I think every single day on that tour, I walked off stage being like, I can't believe that we get to do this. That was
the live band, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
It felt like I was 16 in a punk rock band in someone's basement
So
throwing
sick.
a show. And the fact that it was all a very legit show, wasn't like an actual basement garage show.
Right.
But that, I mean, we had actual real fans there screaming along to every song that we had just released. I mean, all of that stuff to me is absolutely unbeatable. But then I look at the studio life and I think about the amount of purging we get to do and the amount of creativity that we get to express. And that is definitely something that is also unbeatable. I don't think I can choose.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's fair.
I don't know.
It's a life of variety.
Right.
Yeah.
And one complements the other, right?
Yeah,
You know,
absolutely.
Yeah, you do one and then you get to do the other one because you did the first one. And
Our life is full of extremes if you think about it, because when we're home, we're kind of like old women too.
Oh, yeah.
Like you're just saying, you're like an old man. We pack our lunches in Tupperware, bring it to the
Yes.
studio. We're really
Yes.
healthy. We're working out every morning, coming home, making dinner.
We try and eat paleo.
Yeah,
We rarely drink.
Yeah.
We're
We have a
just-
routine.
I'm like in
yeah,
bed
I
by
can't do the drinking
10:30.
anymore either.
And then you go on the road, and it's completely different because I think I was just saying in the past 5 days we were gone traveling in Europe, I probably got a total of 8 hours of sleep.
Yeah.
It's just hard to sleep on planes and
Yeah,
when
it
you have
is.
spiders in your hotel room and shit.
Oh, God, not
But
that
it
bad.
is, and then you get off stage and you're drinking in Hungary some random herbal Hungarian liquor. And stuff.
Oh my God. Yeah.
That's the cool thing is that and thank God, Yasmin, I don't have any sort of issues with addiction is that we can have fun and party on the road, and then we know that when we land, we're straight back into the studio,
Yeah.
back into a healthy routine.
Yeah.
And we're flexible like that. And
Do you
that's
think you're
just-
addicted to working? Because I think that about myself sometimes. Because I don't really, I'm the same. Like I don't have problems with drinking or drugs or anything like that. But I do sometimes. I'm like, there is still that drive, and I mean, part of it, ambition is healthy. It's
Yeah.
like without ambition, we wouldn't get to
Yeah.
where we are.
But there's-
But I do wonder if I'm addicted
Is it unhealthy
to it.
though?
Well,
Because addiction to me assumes there's a level of interference with you being
A
a functioning. Yeah,
I guess that's
healthy
true.
individual.
I mean, I guess maybe the only way it's unhealthy is that we have to exclude certain things from our lives. Like you can't just go to the movies with your friends every night or whatever.
Yeah.
Which is,
Yeah.
I mean, that is a sacrifice. We all make
Yeah.
sacrifices. But I think you're right. Maybe addiction is too strong of a word.
If
but-
you had to be hospitalized, we actually met someone recently who had to be hospitalized because he was overworking because
Right.
his heart was
That's a little
beating
unhealthy.
irregular. That to me, that sounds
Yeah.
That
if you
sounds
have to
like
be
an
hospitalized,
addiction.
I think
Yeah.
that is the definition of not being healthy. Yeah.
And I think that it's crazy because you hear about big artists like I think wasn't Selena Gomez hospitalized last year?
Demi or
Someone
yeah.
because some of those girls work non-fucking stop, but I don't necessarily think it's addiction sometimes. I think it's the pressure of needing to feel relevant, stay relevant, put on the best show every
Right.
night for your 40,000 fans in the crowd. That pressure is unbelievable.
Yeah.
I'm so thankful.
At
we
that
don't,
level, man.
Yeah, we don't ever feel that. I mean, I think we feel a fraction of it because I want to be the best I possibly can
Right.
on stage and in the studio, but there aren't 46 million eyes on me at
Yeah.
all times. I mean, I just named a random number. I don't know how many Instagram or social media followers
Yeah,
some of
who
these
knows?
people had,
Yeah.
but it seemed like a big number.
That's a pretty
Yeah.
big number, yeah.
So I think that I'm really good at if I have a weekend. I took a weekend to go to Napa with my boyfriend 3 weeks ago. I didn't look at my email once that weekend. I did a little bit of work, but maybe 3 hours total in 2.5 days, which is
Nice.
nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Did that
And-
feel weird?
No, I was really, I think I'm really good at compartmentalizing because I know I'm going to literally, I was driving home from Napa at like 5 a.m., got back at like 2 and went straight into the studio.
Right.
It's like I knew there was work waiting for me when I got home. I didn't have to be like, oh, what's next?
Sure.
I'm like, where am I
Yeah.
going? What am I doing? I knew I had a plan. We have a schedule. It's like we actually do live off of
Yeah.
the schedule. I live by
I was
my
gonna
calendar.
Yeah, maybe that's
Yeah.
it. Because I mean, that's such the way you're talking is such a healthy way to do it. Is just to,
Yeah.
like I was on vacation, so I took a vacation. And
Yeah.
then I had to work, so I worked. Like that's kind of how it should be.
I feel very normal in that sense. Like
Yeah.
I'm not.
When I think
normal's a weird
schedules and
word.
deadlines, that helps a lot. I know
Yes.
for me, if I have a deadline, I love deadlines. Like I love just knowing there's a thing that has to be done by a time. Because otherwise, when you're your own boss and it's kind of this nebulous, like
Never
just-
ending.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you can just kind of sit there and not get anything done, even if you've been trying to get something done for 12 hours. Well, I want to talk about a little before we wrap it up. I want to talk about the new record and the new tour. Is this going to be another live band tour that you guys are doing?
It's going to be a hybrid live. So we won't have the band.
Okay.
It'll be DJ and vocal.
Right.
Kind of like if you've seen us at, I'm trying to think.
The Get Wet.
Yeah, the Get
Yeah.
Wet tour we did back in 2013 or the Verge tour we did in 2014. That was DJ vocals. So
Right.
we're going back to that and we're really excited. This is the first big tour we've done since 2014.
That's crazy.
Yeah, or headlining tour. I mean,
Right.
so it's going to be back on the road in a way that we haven't experienced in like 3 years, which to us is like, it's very scary because it's been so long, but it's also really exciting because I know we're going to start working this week to start building out the show.
Yeah.
And we get to create this new thing. We want to make a new version of what we've done in the past. And with all the new music, I mean, you're making new music in the studio and you never get to think like, oh, I'm actually going to be performing this someday. Like,
Yeah.
that's so cool. So now that we're actually there in that process of things.
Can kind of reimagine it.
Yeah,
a little.
exactly. I'm really
Yeah.
excited.
Do you like touring like that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is going to be a great tour. It's a bus tour, no flying
love bus
around.
tours.
Same.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sleep in your coffin.
Oh, it's amazing. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
so well rested on a bus.
too.
tour.
I know.
Yeah.
Yes.
I got the most sleep I've ever gotten in my life on that first bus.
Oh,
bus
yeah.
tour.
Yeah.
Yeah. The first bus tour I ever did, a very quick aside, was while I was still DJing for Kid Sister, we went on tour with A-Track, opening up for him for like 6 weeks. And that was my first bus tour, first tour of that length at all. And so I was super excited. I was like, oh, I'm going to do everything. I'm going to experience everything. And I literally just like slept 10 hours
Oh, yeah.
every night.
Yeah.
I was always the last person to wake up. I
Same.
basically just like walked off stage and went to bed every night.
Yep.
Really did not do a
man.
good job of meeting those goals.
Honestly, sometimes that's what your body needs, though. That's what I think our
Yeah.
dad always tells us. Well, it's either our mom or dad, or maybe both, because
Yeah.
they're both parents. They're like, if your body's telling you something,
Yeah.
you just got to do it.
Yeah.
So,
Yep.
yeah.
100%. And I love sleeping. So
Hell
you know,
yeah. We don't get enough of it.
Never. So the new record's called Part 1. That I assume that implies there's at least a Part 2
Yes.
on the way.
It's so funny. That's the joke. We were like, is there a part 3, 4, 5? Like, how long can this go on for?
Well, you could
It's like
start
the
doing the
Star Wars saga.
Yeah, yeah. You could do like the prequels, or
Sick.
you could do like the Naked Gun, and
Oh.
you could start doing like Part Due or Part 33 and a third. Yeah.
No
I
one
like
wants
it.
to hear the prequels. Trust me.
Oh, yeah. No, trust me. No.
That would be bad.
Yeah, yeah.
There's a reason
Maybe
why we
that's-
went straight to part 1.
Maybe that's better for movies.
Yeah, probably.
Yep.
So yeah, there will be a part 2. We're not really sure exactly how it's all going to be released. We're discussing this actually as of this morning. We might release all 6 to 8 songs as singles and then put out the EP, or put out the EP and then sing. We're not really sure yet, but it's
Yeah.
all going to be coming out before the tour, which is the first date of the tour, September 21st.
Okay, so that's
between
coming up.
now and then, all those songs will be out in the universe.
And what's kind of cool about that, which is the last thing I wanted to talk about, was I think you have the flexibility now that you're releasing it on your own label, right?
Yes, we're indie now.
Yeah.
Mixed Kids Records.
Mixed Kids, that's
Yeah,
the name?
Mixed Kids Records.
I like that. How did that come about? Like, what was the drive after the major label experience to kind of try it on your own?
Well, that decision, or that drive happened while we were on the label.
Yeah, we parted ways
Okay.
with the label.
Got you.
Let me set up by saying there's no bad blood. Is that the right word phrase to say? Yeah. And we're incredibly grateful because we wouldn't have been able to tour like we're touring now. We wouldn't have gotten the exposure that we have now if it wasn't for the label, because we had the music, but they had the machine, and they were able to push certain records like Alive, for example.
Yeah.
And we are so grateful for that. But I think it got to a certain point where it's like Yasmin and I didn't want to be only thinking about what's commercial. And we didn't want to be our writing to be shaped by what the label is gonna like, because if the label doesn't like it, they're not gonna push it, and then it just sits on the back burner, and you get shelved as an artist. And I just feel like our whole career has been based on risks, and it is a risk. It was a lot of it's financial, it's money to part ways because it involves lawyers. It's just a whole. It wasn't even a battle, but it's a big ordeal to get off a label because it involves your business managers, lawyers. And that was a risk we needed to take.
Right.
And right now it's like, we don't know what's going to happen, but we have faith that this was the right decision, and the creativity that it has. It's just amazing being able to like literally write whatever we want.
Yeah.
And put out music when we want, and drop music videos when we want.
Yeah. And just to have an idea and be able to do that idea, right?
Yeah.
Without having to pass it by anyone.
And the freedom of owning your own music in this current day and age is amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, this is one thing I never, ever realized when we signed back in 2012, but Columbia blocked so many people from uploading our music on their YouTube channels, on even their remixes on SoundCloud. They would just get taken down immediately. I mean, and the amount of exposure there is, you can't really track how many plays that would have actually been, but I'm pretty sure it would have been a lot, because so many kids are out there doing covers and doing remixes and just uploading their like gaming videos with our song in the background that get like 1 million views. So you just never know. And
that's exposure.
Every
absolutely.
view, every upload is exposure. And the fact that we couldn't get that really hurt us and didn't help us at all. So it's really nice to be able to say yes to everything.
Yeah.
Any opportunity, post it. Yeah, go for it. Yeah, we're not going to take it down, please.
Yeah,
Mixed Kids
absolutely.
Records will not come after you, I promise you.
Where does the name come from, Mixed Kids?
We actually thought of it right
Sitting
here,
right
sitting
here.
at this table.
With our dad. Our dad was sitting right there.
Yeah. Okay.
He's Pakistani and our mom is European American. So we're mixed kids. We had a couple options for names of, we were down to like 3 options for the name of this record label, and our manager calls us. He's like, yeah, we need the name right now. We were like, oh, okay, we're having breakfast with our dad. Okay, we'll get back to you in like 20 minutes.
Yeah.
So we gave our dad the options, and he actually was like, yeah, Mixed Kids is the best
second
one.
we said it, he was like, that's it.
Nice.
Yes.
Yeah.
Nice. That's
That's
what
the
you
one.
need.
And I feel like
Yeah.
it represents us so perfectly. There is not a more authentic name I can think of.
Yeah.
Because we are mixed kids, and that has influenced our music and our taste in art and music and culture so much, and the way we think, the way we look at life, the way we look at people, our values.
Yeah, I think it also just represents what we feel like we are as a piece in this country, in the state of the country right now. So I think it represents a whole slew of just our lives.
We're all kind of morphing into mixed kids. That's
Yes.
True.
the future
True.
of this
The
world.
pot is melting even
Yeah.
more.
Yeah. And despite what current government might be doing to stop
Yeah.
it, you can't really stop that shit.
I think it's creating more open-minded people, though, because I think if our mom had babies with an American white dude, and if our dad stayed in Pakistan and married, got an arranged marriage and married a Pakistani woman, they both would have been so different. But my mom being exposed to Islam and being exposed to the food and being exposed to even just everything from like the respect, traditions, and vice versa, was so important. You kind of just both people become more open-minded, and therefore you have kids that also are more open-minded kids as well.
Absolutely. We learn by example, right? And by the people around us. And that's, in this age of social media where it's all just kind of everyone yelling at everyone else, I think that can get lost. where it's really, I mean, that's
so true.
That's where the real change happens, right? Is like our friends and our family, and someone close to you will say something that will actually affect you because you love and trust this person, as opposed to some comment on the internet, which is just sort of just more noise.
Yeah.
Like Rainbow Princess XXX.
Nice.
Why you gotta be
Mine,
hating
that's
Rainbow
so-
Princess?
That like no one has usernames like that anymore. That was such a
I don't know. I actually feel like they might.
username.
Oh my God, I missed what was your old Instant Messenger handle?
It was
if you can say.
I had, like,
Lateralis
6.
827.
Wait,
I
what was
made
it?
Okay, so Lateralis was my favorite Tool album at the time, so I put a P in front of it because I thought it reminded me of platypus. So I don't know what was
That's
yours
such
again?
a good one.
I had so many. I made a new one like every year. So my main one was like rubber ducky something.
God, I remember
I literally don't know why. I didn't even have a rubber ducky. I couldn't tell you why. That was my
So cute.
Instagram. And then I
love it.
had like mermaid lover because I loved a mermaid.
Oh,
Like,
nice.
it's like straight
You
up.
were ahead of the curve on that one.
Oh my God. I was trying to be the Little Mermaid all my life. Yeah, lots of really embarrassing ones though.
Growing
Yeah.
up on the internet is so
It's so
fucking
weird.
weird.
Bizarre.
It's like you know how to like talk at people and talk about people, and then it's like when you're face to face with people in the cafeteria, you're like, I could say all this stuff to you
Yeah.
online, but I don't know it to say it in person.
Yeah, I kind of missed that. I'm both sad and happy because I missed that a little bit because I'm a little bit older. And so, yeah, I don't know. It was only in college. Like, I was in college when Facebook came out, and I remember that being really crazy.
I was
and,
in 7th grade when Facebook came out. I was
Yeah.
probably too young for it. You
Well,
had,
'cause they
you had to
only-
be in high school.
Yeah, well, at first you had to be in college.
Really?
Only specific
So
colleges
exclusive.
had it.
Yo, that's actually kind of cool.
Yeah,
It's
'cause
way more exclusive.
Yeah, at
That's
first
what-
that's what it was. It was like just for your college,
Wow,
And
okay.
then eventually it was like all colleges, and then they kind of figured out, hey, we got something here. And
Let's just open it up to the whole damn world.
Yeah, now it's
Why not?
whatever the fuck it is
Yeah,
now.
yeah.
Is there anything else you guys want to get out there? I feel like there's so much more we could talk
I
about,
know.
but
Endless.
I'm not going to keep you. We can come back and do a part 2 some other time.
The pet edition. What were we gonna say? Animal edition.
Yeah, Animal
Oh, yeah.
Edition.
Game of Thrones edition.
Yeah, okay.
Shit, we could talk about so many things for hours.
Yeah.
Come back to me after Sunday. I mean,
Is that when it airs?
yes. Oh my God, I'm so excited. I've been waiting.
But you already know it's going to be a tease, right? Because it's like the first half of the last
I
season, and
know.
then you wait
It's like
another couple of years or something
6
for the rest of it.
episodes or
It's like,
something,
yeah,
or
I hate
8.
how they do that.
I will say though that it never dies in hype. I have never noticed
Never.
the Game of Thrones hype die
That's
because
true.
of the amount of time between seasons.
That's true.
Which is incredible.
The memes keep
Right?
it alive.
Oh my
yeah,
God, it's so
it's
funny.
what we were talking about before.
We even
yeah.
took part in that. We like put one of our songs from our Ammunition EP over a scene from like the
Yeah.
scene where Cersei blows up the church.
Oh yeah,
We put Surrender the Throne
Nice.
over
I don't
that.
even watch Game of Thrones, and I'm taking part in
It
it.
was
Yeah, right.
epic. Oh my God, it looked so perfect.
they got to give you guys some residuals. On
Right.
that.
God, I wish. But yeah,
You
no,
mean Columbia?
well,
That's true.
Yeah,
back when we were still signed. Yeah, I think that we could keep talking for literally ever.
yeah.
But
No, this has been awesome.
This
We'll have
was-
to catch you again, though.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean,
We'll
hopefully
cross paths.
Yeah. I mean, hopefully it's not so long between visits the next time. Before we go, I always try to figure out. Well, I guess we kind of already did, like where we first met, which maybe was at the Mid.
Oh, just blacked out somewhere. Who
Yeah,
knows?
somewhere in a blurry. There is, I don't know why I remember this, but there is just this one blurry.
there's a
photo
picture,
of us.
yeah.
and,
And
I
it's
have
like
no,
a square because it had to fit on Instagram back
Right,
in the day.
right,
when they
right.
Didn't do anything but squares. And
and it's just us in the crowd. I think it was like us and like Leighton
Yeah.
and somebody else was. God, yeah. Anyway,
I don't remember this. But
Yeah.
oh, yeah, no, I remember this exact picture. I can't remember his name, but there was one other person in the picture.
Yeah.
I will remember it someday.
Yeah,
but-
we'll get to it. But so we covered that. And the other thing I like to ask is, when's the last time you can remember music physically affecting you? Whether that's like made you cry or gave you goosebumps or made you smile, whatever it was. And it doesn't have to be some crazy, it can just be like some song on the radio. It can be something that happened 10 years ago. Just kind of the first thing that pops into your mind.
I actually can't think of a physical reaction I got,
That's
but
okay.
I just thought it's the first thing that came to mind because I don't want to overthink this question.
Perfect.
My dad told me about this band called Elbow. They're kind of just like an indie sounding band. They remind me a little of like Mumford and Sons. It reminds me of like indie music I used to listen to. But I think the reason why I felt emotional listening to them, it was because of the combination of the scenery in the car. Because we were driving, or we were in the train from Hungary to Austria. Mm-hmm. And I just love Europe so much. I love the countryside. I love mountains. You were going by train? We were going by train. Beautiful. And it's such a moment. And we don't have international service when we're traveling. And the Wi-Fi wasn't working yet. Yeah. I just have it saved on my Spotify. So I was just I was giving my full attention to just the view and the music. And it was one of those moments where I recognized within myself where I'm like, I'm very in the moment right now.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
And this music is just making me feel something.
Oh, that's beautiful. That's what we're all trying to get back to. I love that.
Yeah, I have a really sappy answer.
Let's get sappy.
Jesus. Do you know the artist Lido? So his album Everything came out probably almost a year ago, and immediately I just fell in love with every single song. It's one of those albums that I listen to from front to back like 25 to 30 times probably, maybe even more. And I remember I showed it to my new boyfriend at the time. Now we've been dating a while, but he fell in love with it too. And then we were on a flight together from Tampa to Chicago. We were going somewhere and we each had like an earbud in.
Oh, yeah.
And we were looking out the window and he's just like holding me and we're just like looking out the window listening to this album, and it is such an emotional album.
It is.
It's all about the fine line between madness and love and what heartbreak does to you, actually physically and emotionally makes you become. And it was such a cool experience with like the new love in my life, because we had both been through some like really crazy shit with relationships and found each other throughout all this bullshit. And this is where it's going to get sappy, or it's already sappy. It's already really fucking sappy. But the last song on that record is about him kind of like coming through all of the heartbreak and realizing that the album's called Everything. You made one person your everything, and then you realized that everything is really nothing. And I mean, it's so poignant the way he says it and sings it and makes the music for it in that last song on the album. But it was kind of that cool moment where I was just like, it didn't really matter what happened before this. This is really beautiful right now. And God, okay, I'm going to stop myself before I continue.
No, I love
But
this.
yeah, we were both super emotional listening to that.
No, you just made me emotional. That was great.
I'm so lame.
No,
I'm really
not
lame.
at all. That's like the best answer I've gotten. That's so good.
Sharing headphones is a sweet thing.
Oh, it's so sweet. It's like so junior high.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
Thank you guys so much for having me at your beautiful home here.
Thank you.
So good to see you guys.
You too.
And yeah, this has just been great. I'm like, makes me so happy to see you guys just out there kicking ass. The new record is great. Hopefully we run into each other on the road.
Hell
I want to see you at some of those shows. And that's it. We got to come back part 2 through 20 coming soon.
33 and a half. Yes, absolutely. And the sequels and the prequels. And
that's right. All of that.
Yeah.
Hey, yo, thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
All right, peace.
Peace.
All right, that's the show. Thank you so much to Krewella. Thank you guys for doing the show. Man, I love this conversation. It just makes me feel good. Just makes me smile. Make sure you go check them out on tour. The New World Tour starts in September, goes all the way through November. All the dates are on Krewella.com. And watch out for New World Part 2, their new record, dropping very soon in the next few weeks. My name is Willie Joy. You can follow me on all social media at Willie Joy. And thank you so much for just rocking with me. 3 months in, we're going strong. I'm blown away by the response so far. I hope you guys have a great week. I'll see you next week on Back to Back. Until then, peace.